Hello and welcome. My name is Amanda and today I have for you a book outlet haul. This is my first ever order from Book Outlet. I picked up a couple things. They weren't having a sale or anything. I actually just missed a sale that they were doing. And I don't really remember what prompted me to buy from Book Outlet other than I just decided I wanted to place an order. So this is mostly, I think, fantasy and dystopian, maybe a little bit of sci-fi in there. I'm not gonna give too big of explanations on these books, but I will leave the Goodreads like synopses down in the description below if you haven't heard of the books and you want to check them out for yourself. So in no particular order at all, I'm just gonna basically start pulling out books from the box. And one of the books I picked up was The Hazelwood by Melissa Albert. This is a book that I have heard quite a bit of hype about recently. I know it did come out recently. I think it's, there's a grandmother who may have passed away who used to write like dark, grim fantasy stories. And now that the girl and her mother are kind of going through her grandmother's things, I believe the mom ends up disappearing in the woods and the daughter has to go search for her, and these things that her grandma wrote about are like happening. I believe that's kind of the synopsis of it, but it's a beautiful foiled cover. I think the UK cover is like green and gold, but this is a really nice black and gold copy, and these end pages are just gorgeous. It's just a gray book with black writing on the spine. There's just like a publishing house seal. I think they're on the front. So I'm really looking forward to reading this book. I'll probably get to it sometime in the winter. The next book I pulled out of the box is The Book of Lost Things, and this is by John Connolly. This is a book that Skylar's mom has recommended to both of us multiple times. I think she just read it a couple months ago, and she just loved the storytelling in it. So it's a book I decided to pick up because of her, and the cover is really pretty. So I'm glad to have this edition on our shelf. It's just kind of nice and plain, but I love the little vine detail in it, and it's really pretty. I also picked up two Morgan Rhodes books from the Fallen Kingdom series. I have book 3, which is A Gathering of Darkness, and book 4, which is Frozen Tides. I started listening to this series on audiobook through my library, and I don't remember what book I stopped on. I think it might have been Frozen Tides or book 5. But I know that recently another book has been released, which is probably Crystal Storm. And so I need to continue this series. I've been debating whether I wanted to buy it in a physical book format or get it on ebook. But the physical book price is just so much better than the ebook price. You can basically get 2 or 3 books for the price of one. So even though this is a long series, I'm just gonna find space for it somewhere on my shelf. But I am looking forward to getting back into this story and this world and maybe doing a reread, because there's quite a few things that I think I've forgotten along the way, and I would like a refresher before I decide to finish the series. I, of course, had to mosey down the clearance section on the website when I was looking, and I picked up Comets Tail. This is a story by Stephen Wolfe, and it's about his experience rescuing a dog. I think this was only like 50 cents or $1, and anything involving dogs, especially rescue dogs, I'm there for. Probably gonna cry, but I'm gonna love it. I think this is a greyhound that he rescued, so it is an ex race dog, and then just his story about teaching the dog to not just be a working dog and to learn to love and enjoy life and trust humans and the like. So I picked this up because I thought it would be a good little read here soon. So another book I picked up is a retelling, and this is Roseblood by A.G. Howard, And from what I've heard, this is kind of a Phantom of the Opera retelling. And I've never seen the musical, but I love the movie. I did read the Phantom of the Opera, the book by Gustav something or other. I don't remember his name, which I didn't like quite so much, but I am excited to read a retelling. So I guess probably the main reason I went on Book Outlet was to pick up these books that I'm about to show you. I've put them in my cart on multiple platforms multiple times and still never picked them up. But the synopsis is so intriguing to me and the premise of the story. So I decided to finally get them because they were a fairly decent price. That is Scythe and Thunderhead by Neil Shusterman. I got both of these in a hard copy. And I'm really looking forward to reading this. So from what I can tell is that Scythe, or what I've heard, is that Scythe is a dystopian world, or this book takes place in a dystopian world where basically all natural causes for death have been eradicated. So there are these people that are hired to control the population, essentially. I don't think you get to choose whether you're a Scythe or not. You just kind of get picked, and they basically decide who gets to keep living and who doesn't. So I thought this was just such an interesting premise. And since the second book came out, I really wanted to pick up the first. So I just picked up both of them and decided that I will get to them here really soon. So another book that I found in the bargain section was Metalwork by Kristen Simmons. I think my last Whimsify box had a book by Kristen Simmons. And that was the first time I had heard of her. But this was one of her first novels, I believe. And it kind of seems like a steampunk sort of story. I don't remember much about it, but it looked interesting and it was like 99 cents, so I decided to get it. And another book that I found in the bargain section was Daughters of Ruin by K.D. Kastner. This is a book that I think we have two princesses that are kind of pitted against each other. Again, I don't really know what it's all about other than that. It was an interesting enough premise, and for the price I just figured it would either be something I would get to or I wouldn't get to, and it would be okay. But it seems like an okay story, and I am looking forward to reading it somewhat soon. And I believe I don't know if this is the first book in a series or if there are more, but I'll find out. And then I'll probably review it at some point. The last book I found in the bargain section was Boys of Summer by Jessica Brody. I thought it was interesting because we have a lot of contemporary stories that follow groups of girlfriends, but not a lot that follow guy friends. So when I saw this, it was something that sparked my intrigue. It's about these four boys, they're friends that every summer they go to the coast, the ocean somewhere, and spend the summer together. But something happened in between two of the summers and their kind of friendship dynamic has changed a little bit. So I thought it would be an interesting story to read just from the perspective of a guy's friendship versus just always having a girl's friendship. Another book that I keep putting into my cart on different platforms and then taking out of is An Enchantment of Ravens by Margaret Rogerson. This is a fae story, which I really haven't read a lot of fae stories. I think this girl takes pictures or paints or something, and she ends up capturing the fae prince on picture and gets caught, and things happen. So that's basically all I know of it. I always thought this cover was so beautiful, so I wanted to pick it up and read it. I think it would be a good like autumn winter read, so I will probably be picking this up pretty soon. And the last book I have is The Wicked Deep by Shay Earnshaw. I know this has been talked about quite a bit on BookTube lately. This is a story about three sisters that were charged of witchcraft and were put to death. And every year they lure boys from the town and end up killing them. So there's a girl that comes into the town and doesn't really know the history of this. I think there's romance and intrigue and stuff. I've heard mixed reviews on this. People either like it or they don't. This was a Creating and Co. book club pick maybe in July that I didn't end up reading. But I think I might pick it for the upcoming TBR, not TBR Throwdown, the RIP Readathon, because it deals with witches. And I think that's one of the categories. So I'm looking forward to reading this pretty soon. So that is it for my book haul. I really hope you enjoyed. And if you've read any of these books, I would love to know your thoughts and opinions on them, whether you liked them or didn't like them. I would just love to start discussions. So if you feel so inclined, please do so down in the comments below. And I will chat with you there until my next video. Bye!